Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, and I hope you stayed healthy. And I hoped that you had some cultured foods added to your diet during the holidays because they can make such a difference. But if you didn't, that's okay, because this is a show that will help encourage you to add them now, because it doesn't really matter when you add them. It just matters that you do add them because they can make such a difference. And goodness knows they have made all the difference in my life, and really surprised me, actually, because I didn't expect that they would be the answer to so many of the problems that I was facing physically. And as the years have gone by, it's been 15 years since I've made and eaten these foods. And they're such a part of my life in such a huge way, but they never cease to stop teaching me about things that they can do, because our body is made up of these little, houses these microbes that by the trillions inside of us. And they do so many things that we're just really now starting to understand. And that's this journey that I've been taking for the last 15 years, eating these foods. I keep learning more about them and the things they can do, and they shock me again and again. I think I know everything, and then something comes along, and lo and behold, these invisible microbes that call my body their home help me again and again by showing me the power that they possess. And I love sharing that with you, because once you have that information, you have some knowledge and some power. And you have some understanding of what is going on inside of your body all the time that you're not even aware of. And so this show is about 5 foods that have changed my life, that can also change your life. And when it comes to these cultured probiotic fermented foods, I just couldn't love anything more, because when something makes you well, you pay attention and you notice what it's doing, and then you do it again and again and again. And not everybody was going to make these foods as I did in the beginning, because most people didn't really know about them. But they didn't also understand the power that they had. And once I tapped into that, once I started getting well, and once my family started getting well, there was no stopping me. It changed everything for me. And not just physically, but it reorganized my whole life. And I'm really thankful for the pain and suffering that I had that led me to these foods, because it made all the difference in my life and continues to do so. So here are the top 5 probiotic foods I always have on hand. And then I'm going to tell you why I have them on hand. Okay, well, first we're going to start with my friend Kefir. That was the very first cultured food I ever tried. And it has become my go-to food when I need extra help. I use it for a million things. I use it for to prevent colds or sickness. If I'm struggling with anxiety or stress, I didn't know this, but Kefir can calm me down, and it has the ability to do that. It has 50 plus good bacteria in it, so it helps with like the neurotransmitters that can induce calm and lessen anxiety. And this is science. This isn't just me saying this. I noticed that it did this before I found the science. And that seems to be the course in my life. One of these foods will do something for me, and I won't really have the science to back it up. It'll just be an experience, a life action, or a life experience that I'm experiencing. And then either months later or years later, I will find research that backs up what has happened to me or to one of my family members. And it's been doing this for 15 years. And I always knew that Kefir had an ability to help me with calming me down whenever I felt anxious. And it was interesting. I had a lady that she sent me in what it's called a Lives Touched. And she has a really interesting story. Her name is Tara. And her husband was in Tower 3 on 9/11, and he got out. He escaped with his life, but he had terrible post-traumatic stress syndrome. He lost his job. He couldn't work. He was on all kinds of anxiety medications. He was on all kinds of, he was under all kinds of testing, and he had a lot of doctors, and nobody could help him. They were trying everything they could do. to try to help him. And she had found kefir, and she started giving it to him. And lo and behold, it started to work. And they had 6 children at the time, and it was a really bad situation they were in because he wasn't working and things were so horrible. And it not only made him well, but it changed all of them. And they drink gallons of kefir a week. And it was a couple years later after she had wrote me and told me all about this wonderful thing that kefir had done for her husband. And she told me that something she found was that if she had to have at least 2.5 cups a day when she was under stress, and that was her, she said it was just like a drug that worked on her that calmed her down. And I had found the same thing, that whenever I'm under an enormous amount of stress, that if I will up my kefir to at least 2.5 cups, that seems to do the trick for me. And it did for her too. And I've heard that from other people. It has the ability to make those feel-good chemicals in the gut that go straight to the brain that allows us to keep calm and under stress. And that's one of my things that I just recently learned that kefir did in the last few years. That it's a wonderful thing for helping with anxiety or any kind of depression. Or you have to remember that you've got they call the gut the second brain. And a lot of the serotonin is made in the gut. So when you have bad bugs in your gut, they make everything worse. And so you want to keep that little organ of yours down there all filled with good bacteria, and kefir is the greatest way to do that. And there's a lot of research about this now that's coming out more and more about it, and not just in kefir, but in other foods too. We're going to talk about those too. One of the things that I love about kefir is when I've taxed my muscles with exercise, kefir gives me a boost. It has like 14 grams of high quality protein in every cup. And it's also very anti-inflammatory. So that helps me recover quickly. It also will flood my body with vitamins and minerals that are the building blocks of health. So it's one of those, it's just a super nutrient dense food. Your body loves it because it doesn't have to break it down because it's already pre-digested through the bacteria. So the body just utilizes it so easily that it takes all the stress off digestion because it's already broken down. It's a pre-digested food. And it's got enzymes and probiotics in it. So the body loves it. So it helps the body to receive nutrients very quickly. So if you're recovering from any kind of illness or any kind of a body's pain or from exercise, kefir is fantastic because it will help you recover quickly and give you lots of vitamins and minerals in the process. When I need a quick meal, kefir is what I reach for. And I do this like every day because it's just fast food for me. That's the thing I love about kefir. It's fast food, guys. It takes no time to eat kefir or to make something. It takes less than 5 minutes, even a few seconds if you just want to drink it straight. But I usually mix it with something. But there have been many times when I've just downed it because, I mean, there's nothing faster than kefir. Take a jar from the fridge and mix it into a smoothie or just down it in the jar and you've got a really nutrient-dense meal that really does help keep you full. I have so many recipes for kefir because I have books and blogs and videos and everything you can imagine because I eat it a lot. I have it every day. So I had to come up with lots of recipes because I like a variety too. That's a big thing for me. So if you're wanting kefir recipes, come over to culturedfoodlife.com and check out the recipe section because I've got a gazillion recipes on there because I eat them, then I need it fast. So I try to make that easy for you. There's a lot of science about these 50 plus microbes in kefir. And remember, yogurt only has like 3 to 7, depending on the brand, depending on what you're eating. And also something you need to know about yogurt is heated and then the probiotics are usually added back in. Most of the time, yogurt is not made on the counter like kefir is, where kefir's never heated. It's just cold straight from the whatever you're using, non-dairy or dairy milk, whichever kind you're using. It's just made on the counter. And the process of fermentation heats up the food and actually cultures it, keeping the enzymes intact and making it a living food. Whereas yogurt is heated to about 110 degrees and then probiotics are added back in. So that's the difference. And kefir has so many, 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 many more probiotics in it. And it's one of the most easiest foods to make. So literally what you're doing is you're taking whatever, with your non-dairy milk or dairy milk or cow's milk or goat's milk, whatever you want to use, almond milk, coconut milk, and you put it in a jar on your counter. You add a culture to it. You put a lid on it. And you let it sit on your counter for anywhere from 18 to 24 hours. And then you have kefir. And then you can put that in the fridge where it lasts many, many months, perfectly preserved, because the good bacteria keeps out the pathogens and preserves the milk and keeps it safe. And if I only had one food to choose, I would choose kefir because of the huge benefits. It's unbelievable, the benefits that are in kefir. Something recently that I had read an article from Harvard University, and it was just published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and it demonstrated that there are certain foods that contribute to weight gain more than others. And they followed 120,000 men and women, and the ages were like between 12 and 20 years. And they found out some surprising things. They took big studies and did on activities like things like inactivity, stress, sleeping less than 6 hours. And then they did some testing on the foods that they ate. And some of the worst foods for weight gain were, and this is no surprise, but like trans fats, processed foods, desserts, sugar-sweetened beverages. And then the subjects who ate the most of these foods were destined to become overweight over time, along with diabetes and other problems. However, in this study, they found that the food that had the most effect on weight gain was fermented dairy. And regular consumption of be it yogurt or kefir turned out to be the most helpful food for weight loss. And not because of the calories, but because of the flora, the probiotics in the fermented dairy. The probiotics help to keep those bad bugs from growing out of control, which often happens, which almost always happens. See, here's the deal. Bad bugs produce toxins, and they're called LBS or lipopolysaccharides, which trigger inflammation, insulin resistance, diabetes, and weight gain. And if you have elevated LBS levels in your blood, and they're almost always found in overweight people, like across the board. It's just a common thing they see. They see these endotoxins in these people that are overweight. And bacterial imbalances are almost always there. And almost always the elevated LBL toxins inflame the lining of the digestive tract. And it causes the hormone to rise that causes you to overeat. It disrupts your leptin, and it causes this hunger hormone, gremlin, to rise, which results in food cravings, makes you overeat. And they found that regular consumption of fermented dairy was the thing that changed it the most. And that's because of the probiotics in it. And I found that too. It's a wonderful way to really reestablish order inside of your gut. If the lining of your gut is inflamed, your digestive tract is inflamed, you're just going to have a really hard time losing weight, but also, diabetes will start to show up and things like that are inflammatory diseases that can cause and wreak a lot of havoc in your life. And I thought that was really interesting, that article that I read in the New England Journal of Medicine. And I can see that across the board because I get a lot of emails from people, and I see how it really does help people in losing weight, and also in calming down inflammation and it helped me greatly. I've written an article about diabetes and cultured foods, and kefir was just so influential 15 years ago in helping me rid myself of that and high blood pressure. So I highly recommend it. It's changed my life in so many ways. And you can always go over to my website at culturedfoodlife.com and check out more articles that we have on there that we greatly encourage you to understand that food can work like medicine in the body. And not only that, it's delicious, and it's a fast food, and it's easy, and it's inexpensive, and it reproduces itself. So you can give some of these, if you make kefir with kefir grains, you can give some grains to your neighbors and your friends. It's just, you can't ask for anything more with this food. It's just wonderful. And so the other thing that I love about kefir is kefir cheese. And I always have this in my fridge. I use it constantly. If something calls for cream cheese or sour cream or cottage cheese or Greek yogurt, I substitute with kefir cheese because it's wonderful. And kefir cheese is super easy to make. If you have kefir at all you do is you put it in a little strainer, and I line the strainer with coffee filter. And I pour the kefir in there, and then I cover it with plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge, and I put the strainer in a bowl. And then the next day it drains all the whey out of it, and you've got this delicious kefir cheese that we use all the time in so many recipes. We make dips with it. We have an onion dip that's just wonderful. If you love onion dip, French onion dip, and all it is caramelized onions and I think a little paprika and salt blended together in a food processor with kefir cheese, and it's fantastic. It's like the best onion dip you'll ever have. We eat that all the time. I named it after my husband because he loves it so much, and I never get any because everybody eats it all. You can add kefir cheese to your potatoes, your sweet potatoes. It adds incredible creaminess to kefir ice cream. I always make my kefir ice cream with kefir cheese because it gives it this incredible richness to the kefir ice cream it's just wonderful. You can add it to soups as a topping. You can add it to tacos. There's just so many things that I do with kefir cheese. And so it is always something I have in my fridge because I use it all the time. And I even use it, and we just went through the holidays. And something that I do that you guys might find interesting, if I make whipped cream, I don't like to buy the stuff in the cans, but I like to make my own. But I'll add a little bit of kefir cheese in there after it's been whipped for toppings. And what it does is it stabilizes it. It makes it last a really long time. And then it loads it with probiotics. So we made these things over Christmas. They were called Kefir Claws. And I had this on my Biotic Pro membership site. And basically it was a strawberry and a pineapple. And you cut it into little pieces and you made a little Santa Claus out of it. And then you topped it all with this kefir cheese that was whipped. And boy, you talk about good. We ate so many of them. We just popped them in our mouth. And they were super fun to make. They looked like little Santa Clauses. And I made another dessert at Christmas time that was really good that I'd never made before. And it was, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It was a French dish, but it was basically mostly kefir cheese. And I whipped it and then put it in, and I put it in a little heart-shaped mold that strained out the whey. And then when it was done straining, it looked like a little heart. So I put it in a raspberry sauce and strawberry sauce. And boy, it was a hit at Christmas, and it was super easy to make. So there's all kinds of things you can do with it. You can make coconut kefir cheese with it. That's really good. There's just a lot of different exciting ways to use kefir cheese. And you'll be surprised that you won't be buying any of that other stuff anymore because you'll be using that instead. And when it's loaded with probiotics, it's so much better for you. Now, when you strain out the whey, don't throw that out either, because I have a wonderful blog called The Liquid Golden Kefir. The whey is magical too. And that can be used in many things and has so many benefits that are different from the cheese part. So don't throw it away, because I even had a lady tell me that it helped her get out stains in her husband's clothes because she soaked his shirt in the kefir whey, and it was a great stain remover. So that was something new. But they used to use whey to heal people years ago. I think Hippocrates was the one who used it, and then many other famous people from Greece used it. They used to have spas and medicinal healing places to heal people, and they used they used the whey to heal people because it was so loaded with nutrients. So those are two things that I always use, is kefir and kefir cheese. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is kombucha. And this is a mainstay in my house. And boy, do we have a lot of Christmas time. My daughter made some really different varieties that are really delicious. She made a candy cane kombucha, and she made a punch. I'm still trying to figure out what was in that, but I couldn't stop drinking it. It was terrific. And she made that for us at Christmas. And it has really replaced soda in our house. Especially, we used to be addicted to diet sodas in our house. We used to drink it all the time, and we couldn't get off of it. And it was kombucha that helped us all get off of it, because it was really bad for you. And it was causing some problems neurologically. I think it was the aspartame in it that caused, and I actually wrote something on it that was really interesting. It's a neurotoxin, and it was causing problems for me especially. And so I was grateful that I finally found some way to get off of it because I craved it all the time. And kombucha was the reason I did that. It's a wonderful help for the liver. If you're trying to get off a food that's not good for you, or a drink or a substance, I really highly recommend you try kombucha because it assists the liver in detoxification. And you'll be surprised how many people have told me that kombucha helped them get off of things. And it helped me, or I wouldn't have believed them, but it really is a powerful detoxifier. It's great for people who are going through hormonal imbalances, menopause. I highly recommend you drink some kombucha. It'll really help you. Guys, it's just a fantastic drink. It's bubbly. It's got natural carbonation in it, naturally occurring carbonation. Most carbonation you get in sodas is forced carbonation. It's not good for you. And kombucha is fantastic. It's got its own carbonation that's naturally occurring, and it's has so many properties that allow for more diversity in your diet. And so it will help your liver cleanse you from things that aren't healthy for you. And believe me, when I first started drinking that, it did that, because I can remember thinking, why do I smell? Because my body and my skin were purging a lot of toxins. And then now, oh my gosh, 15 years later, I don't even use deodorant. I haven't used deodorant in, 12, 13 years. And I believe that's because most bacteria is caused, body odor is caused by harmful bacteria. Not harmful, but body odor is caused by bacteria. And so because I eat these foods, I don't really need it anymore. I don't need deodorant anymore. And if I do, I know it's because something's out of balance. It's kind of a good warning sign for me. It also supplies you with acetic acid, which is really good for joint pain and digestion. And it's one of the most researched and used probiotics, is abundant in kombucha. Saccharomyces boulardii is just a fantastic probiotic yeast that cannot be killed by antibiotics. And we don't talk a lot about probiotic yeast, but we need those too. But not only do we need probiotic bacteria, but we need the good yeast too, because that brings balance to the body and keeps the harmful yeast at bay. It's tart and bubbly. It's unique and delicious. And I could go on and on about kombucha, but I highly recommend you go grab a bottle and try it, and let me teach you to make it. If you want to make it yourself, it's fun, it's easy, and it's something we always have in our fridge. The other thing, the other food that I love so much is cultured vegetables. And I love cultured vegetables. I just made a couple jars yesterday, are sitting on my counter right now. And I always have 5 or 6 jars in my fridge. I like to try different kinds. And boy, they make such a difference. One of the things that I love about cultured vegetables is if you're going to make sauerkraut, if you're going to use kraut, you're going to get 700 milligrams of vitamin C in 1 cup of fermented sauerkraut, as opposed to only 60 milligrams in cabbage alone. It's a powerful food. It's a powerful way to strengthen your adrenals and your immune system, because your immune system, that really needs a lot of vitamin C. And you have to get it all the time because it doesn't stay in the body very long. And I have found that sauerkraut is one of the most powerful ways to get it. It works in minutes. You can feel it. And we add these cultured vegetables, and it's not necessarily sauerkraut. We have all different kinds of cultured vegetables in our fridge. I got a new recipe that I'm wanting to share with you this week that I'm excited about, that I think you'll find very unique. And probably nobody's ever made it this way, but I think you're really going to like it. And it's something it's got so many different flavors in it, and there's so many different things you can do. I posted a video not too long ago called Jicama if you're sickama. And jicama is a Mexican potato, they call it. And it's so fantastic. We culture this vegetable. It's sitting in my fridge, and my youngest daughter was in a play not too long ago, and she got really sick. And so she was running a fever, and she was one of the leads in the play. And it was cultured vegetables and kombucha that got her through that play. If she hadn't had that, I don't know how she would have gotten through it. I'm still not sure how she got through it anyway. But she took those foods with her, and the extra boost it gave her adrenals from the vitamin C, she would take shots of the juice from the cultured vegetable with her to her performances. and she put them in a thermos, and she would just take shots. And you just get flooded with vitamin C. And honestly, it was a godsend for her. It made all the difference. And kombucha was helpful too, because her throat was bothering her, and she was worried about singing, but she did great. And I'm not sure how she did it, because it was pretty wicked, the cold she had. Or it was actually a virus. She was running a fever and everything, but she did great, and it knocked it out of her fast, and she was back on her feet in no time. And very thankful for cultured foods that helped her get through that. It's wonderful because a jar of cultured vegetables can last over a year in your fridge, and they remain perfectly preserved. We like to add spoonfuls just as part of a meal. We'll put them on wraps. We put them on top of stir fry. I make dips with them. We do gut shot juice of just the juice alone. We have so many recipes for cultured vegetables. So if you'd like some more of those, head on over to my website at culturedfoodlife.com and pick one that interests you. There's a great one on there right now called orangeade kraut. That's really good this time of year. It's great for colds and flus. It gives your body extra vitamin C and extra probiotics, because of those probiotics love oranges. They grow and multiply, and so you get more probiotics in that particular cultured vegetable than you do in a lot of other ones, because of the prebiotics in the oranges. So you might want to check that out. Okay, my last food that we want to talk about is fermented garlic. I love fermented garlic. It's basically all you do is you peel the cloves of garlic and you stick them in a jar with a culture, and they will last months and months and months in your fridge. Whenever you need garlic, you just grab one out. And you can use them in just any recipe that calls for garlic. And the juice is very, very strong as well, and it will, I'm telling you, it can knock out a cold ASAP really quickly. And so garlic is a prebiotic, so it provides extra benefits as well. And a prebiotic is food for bacteria, so it makes it grow and multiply. So garlic is like a 1-2 punch, because you get probiotics and prebiotics. So if you just peel a bunch of garlic cloves, throw them in the jar, then cover them with water, put a culture in it, and let it sit on your counter for a couple of days, it's done. It's easy. It can be thrown in your fridge. You can add it to salad dressings. You can make sauces. You can add it to soups. There's a huge amount of things you can do with garlic, because so many recipes call for it. But this is probiotic garlic, and it's already peeled, and it's in your fridge, and it's so good for you. And it's just a staple in my house, and I just keep it in a little jar there. So these are the 5 foods that I love, that I have all the time. Kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, fermented garlic, and kefir cheese. I love these foods. All of these foods are the things I have all the time. I don't think I've ever gone in the last 15 years without any of them, because I always keep them in my fridge, because I need them, because I use them I use them every day. So take a look at my website at culturedfoodlife.com. And you don't have to do all 5 at once. I started out with just one. I started out with kefir, and then I moved on to these other foods as I got really acquainted with it. Just pick one and start adding it to your life. Make it a part of your daily routine. You're going to be surprised how easy it is, and it's going to free you up, because it's going to give you some extra time, because these foods are fast and easy to make. And I love them, and they've made such a wonderful difference the last 15 years, and especially in this last year of 2017. They were times in my life that if I hadn't had these foods, I don't know how I would have made it through. So I hope that one day you'll feel the same way about these foods, and take a look at some of my recipes, and head on over to culturedfoodlife.com and just click on the recipe thing, or just read some of the articles too. I have a lot of them, and I have lots of things that I love to share with you. So you guys have a wonderful 2018, and I hope that this year you'll add some of these foods to your diet and see if they make all the difference for you like they have for me.